the election by acclamation.
Okay.
Do you have any questions regarding the election or the election by acclamation process?
No, actually, I want to. I do have a statement that I wanted to make. That it's not really a question. My statement is in regards to what.
Wait just a minute.
And
We're done. We're done with the open thing there, saying that
no, I'm
the
sorry.
Pam's appointed to the new to the same position.
Oh, I understand that. Thank you. But yeah, this is an open forum, so I just want to make a statement, if I could.
Okay, and it's an open board meeting. Anybody that calls in has the privilege to speak for 3 minutes. And
Okay.
then 3 minutes. So
I will try to do it 3 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
So towards the end of last year, it became known to me that the community manager is involved in financial fraud and embezzlement using the community's funds. I thought at first it was just the management, so I was excited to meet Mr. Charles last year in October. But unfortunately, after talking to you, you never contacted me again, and you continued to pursue this behavior along with the management and embezzling more funds. Our buildings are slowly falling apart. We have cockroach and mice infestations, as well as criminal actions being committed by the on-site community manager. And it's not only this management, South Shore Community Management, as well as board, Lake Las Vegas Board and Management is involved as well. This is done by many various means, such as doing fake expenses, fake invoices, personal expenses, as well as having a deceased person on your bank statements. Just recently, August 2023, one example where the management salary, instead of being the usual $4,590, suddenly became $9,123. And you can see that yourself as well as anyone else. And just to summarize my point so I can finish, I took the figures of the bank account balances from 2021, 2022, and 2023. And this is just the cash balances, no other numbers. And I'll let them speak for themselves. So in 2021, the bank balance of the Mantova community was a little over $412,000. 2022, the balance was $249,000. September of this year, it is only $86,000. So the money is slowly disappearing while our community is being destroyed by criminals who pretend to care for us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we're going to move to the announcement of election by acclamation. So I would like to extend my gratitude to Pam for submitting the nomination form. Welcome back. It's been a long time. Oh wait, you didn't leave us. Thank you. So per the election by acclamation policy, there was one nomination form received and one open position on the board. So per the election by acclamation policy, Pam is welcomed back onto the board for another 2-year term. So with that announcement and homeowner open forum concluded, do you guys have any questions regarding the annual meeting?
Absolutely not. No.
All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Thank you. And that is 5:07 p.m. All right. So we're going to move directly from that to the Mantova open board meeting. Thursday, November 16th, 2023, immediately following the annual meeting. We have establishment of a quorum. We will call this meeting to order again at 5:07 p.m. All right, open forum for items on the agenda. There are not any items on the agenda, which I will touch on in the manager's report. Do you have any questions, Alexander, for any items related to minutes or treasurer's report?
I have not received any of those items.
I'm sorry?
I have not received any of those items.
Well, you wouldn't receive them in advance of the meeting. The board hasn't approved them yet.
So how could I have questions if I don't see them?
It's the opportunity for a homeowner open forum per the agenda.
There's nothing on the agenda though.
Okay. So we'll move forward to the approval of the minutes for the August 9th, 2023 open board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Excuse me, but one question. How can you
Thank
approve something that no one is seeing? You're talking about the minutes, but where are the minutes?
So the minutes are the record of the meeting.
And where is that record? How can I have questions or not have questions if I do not have those minutes?
So Alexander, we're going to go ahead and proceed with the business of the meeting. If you have additional questions, you're welcome to ask them in the homeowner open forum at the end. But we're going to go ahead and proceed with
Okay.
the approval, okay? Second, thank you. All right, we have the financial view. This one is for you to sign. All right, so we're going to review July through September 2023 financials and treasurer's report. So in accordance with NRS 116.31083, I have examined the financial statements for the association for the period ending September 30th, 2023, and offer the following report to the board. The association uses the accrual method of accounting. Monthly financials are produced and provided to the board. Financial statements are available to each homeowner upon request. I've reviewed the bank account reconciliations of the association and the related bank statements. There were no unusual or unexplained reconciling items. So we'll start with the balance sheet. Cash in the operating account as of July 31st was $60,906.54. Cash in the operating as of August 31st, 2023 totaled $121,817.01. And cash in the operating as of September 30th, 2023 totaled $114,766.46. Cash in the reserve account as of July 31st totaled $194,958.09. Cash in the reserve account as of August 31st was $218,379.12. And cash in the reserve as of September 30th, 2023 was $225,510.40. For delinquent assessment on July 31st, delinquent assessments as of July 31st were $5,800. As of August 31st, 2023, they were $4,438. And as of September 30th, 2023, delinquent assessments totaled $4,685. Delinquent assessments are promptly collected in accordance with the association's collection policy. For the revenue and expense statement, okay, that again. Operating revenue for the period ending July 31st, 2023 was $66,145, including fines, late fees, interest, and other income, while the association incurred $75,121 in expenses, including transfers to the reserve in the amount of $6,600, leaving a deficit of revenue in the amount of $8,978. Operating revenue for the period ending August 31st, 2023 was $66,195, including fines, late fees, interest, and other income, while the association incurred $88,843 in expenses, including transfers to the reserve in the amount of $6,600, leaving a deficit of revenue in the amount of $22,648. Good luck, summer guys. Operating revenue for the period ending September 30th, 2023 was $66,995, including fines, late fees, interest, and other income, while the association incurred $80,212 in expenses, including transfers to the reserve in the amount of $6,600, leaving a deficit of revenue in the amount of $13,217. I've reviewed the comparison of budget to actual and noted that there was nothing that was unexplained, no unexplained significant variations in the budget to actual comparison. Do I have a motion to approve the financials from July through September 2023?
Motion to
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Chuck, I'm going to give you the second on that one. Pam, gotcha.
Okay. I'll second the motion to approve it as read.
To sign. All right. so from that, we're going to go into the manager's report. I'm going to touch on a couple of things. As we wrap up the end of the year, we have coming up. So first I will touch on the board meeting for both the budget and the reserve study has been scheduled for December the 14th at 1:00 p.m. So that meeting, we're going to be going through all of the changes, and we're going to kind of go into the nitty gritty of everything that I'm touching on here. But just to kind of give a touch base, we've had quite a bit happen over the past several months, and even if we go back into last year. So as far as landscaping goes, we just did a warranty walk. We went through and walked the property. All of the turf conversion plants are maturing. So they're getting bigger, they're getting fuller. We had done a warranty walk in the beginning of the year, and everything was like on the borderline. Was it gonna make it? Was it not? So we gave it the summer to give it the first real growth season, and I'm glad that we did because a lot of them just blossomed over the summer.
Cool.
That being said, and going through and doing the warranty walk in the fall, I don't want to put plants in the ground and have the potential to freeze. I want to give them the best chance to survive. So we have everything scheduled with the plant bank and also seeing everything fill in to see where we have empty spots. We're still looking at what to use as a replacement in the courtyards, because replacing those bushes, we would be on the 6th round of bushes. And there's no logical sense on irrigation or soil or anything, because we have one healthy plant next to one that we've replaced several times. And at this point, they're all at different growth cycles. So every time we do replace it, if it does survive, it's substantially smaller than the one next to it. And so we're trying to keep everything. The point was for it to be uniform. And at this point, I don't know that it ever would be unless we really stunted the ones that are healthy, and then we run the risk of losing those ones as well. So we're looking at a couple of different options for replacement in those because of each of the buildings, as well as the amount of sun, depending on the time of year. Those plants just don't seem to be thriving in that environment. But as far as maintenance goes, we probably have the best landscape maintenance team we've had in a really long time. Everything is manicured very well. They're keeping everything cleaned out really well. We used to have a really big problem with all the leaves and debris underneath the bushes, which they seem to be doing well. Did you see an improvement this week with the blowing or no? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. We seem to have a team that's listening. I get a little apprehensive sometimes with Gothic, but again, the value in keeping them intact with our landscaping is that all of the plants that they've installed, which is about 85% of our plants at this point, are covered by warranty for the life of their maintenance contract.
Oh.
It's a huge value. So in that, navigating through those challenges makes it a little bit more important than anything else. We have some pretty heavy weight in the game. With landscaping, I'll include trees. We are coming up on needing the olives to be pruned. I did have them go through and take all the low-level pine branches off because October is typically trimming season for them. Rather than going through and thinning the pines, I had them take all the low-level stuff off because there's a minimal amount that we can prune on a pine tree without impacting the health. So I told them, let's get those trunks really clear any pedestrian issues, any head clearance issues. So we got that done over the past couple of weeks. So landscaping wise, it feels like we're doing really good. The big benefit that I see, we did the last permanent installation in the fountain that we will need to do. So if you look at the plants in the fountain, we now have the grasses on the 4 points, and then in between each of the grasses, there are 2 bottle brush and 1 sago palm. So now the body of that bottom base is full with plants that are going to grow and mature, evergreen, consistent with the rest of the landscaping, but still leaving us small pockets that we can do seasonal color that will match the upper bowls. The upper bowls are not big enough to sustain anything permanent. So it's nice because it ties it all together, but it reduces. So we have cut in half the cost of those seasonal installations. We've now filled them in with all permanent plants. Lift station. So this has been one of the biggest changes recently. In the past, we had a lift station chemical protocol where our current vendor, RPM, used a tablet called Blixit, which was a peroxide-based tablet that they put in the lift station to treat for odor. So our lift station has the furthest travel distance of any other lift station in Lake Las Vegas. And with that is more time for fumes as well as H2S, which I now know more about than I ever wanted to know. And what we identified is in combination of those Blixit tablets, which were peroxide based, and we also have a service where Mesco treats the actual manholes. There is a system that exists inside of the manhole that is a biological treatment to reduce the smell that several years ago we had smell coming up into the condos and into the streets out here. So that manhole treatment and that treatment have been great. However, they've now traced all the way back through all of the lift stations an increased level of H2S, which is hydrogen sulfate, which is not only odorous, but corrosive. So with that influx in there, we would be looking at the potential of damaged pipes as well as corrupting the water that is being out and sent out away. I told her I never wanted to know about this thing. Stinking thing works. So City of Henderson came back to us. They tested every lift station all the way back. There's still debate because where they're measuring the H2S is at the discharge manhole, which is in front of Porta Bellagio. So it's about a quarter of a mile past the tennis court roundabout. In that manhole where both our lift station and the Lake Club's lift station, that is their discharge, that is where they are measuring the high levels of H2S. So they tested theirs first and they did 2 different treatments. So they added an aeration pump called a wet well wizard, which is basically just a bubbler, right? It's a pump that generates bubbles inside of the lift station to give oxygen to all of those things that are floating around in there, which is one of the things that is used to break down H2S. They also implemented a chemical called calcium nitrate, which is the other thing that alleviates that H2S. So they explained what their protocol was and that cleared up the issue that they were having at their lift station. And short of trying it to see if it worked or didn't, we didn't really have any way to prove whether it was ours or whether it was theirs. We didn't have any smell at the lift station, but because it has such a long travel before it gets to that discharge manhole, the explanation is that that peroxide product was running out before it got there. So we implemented a new chemical protocol with a company called Chem Aqua. They came out and evaluated the lift station. They evaluated the different protocols that are being tried in Lake Las Vegas Master Association as well as South Shore. And we implemented a combination product, which is the calcium nitrate as well as a biological product that they use, which is a long-term fix. So just doing calcium nitrate can also be corrosive if that's the only treatment that you do. We got the proposal for the wet well wizard. Actually, we asked our lift station company to give us a proposal for that. And he said, I'm just gonna give you the information information that they gave us. I don't want any part of it. It's expensive enough. So just that bubbling pump was about $15,000. And that wasn't including installation. So we proceeded with the chemical protocol and implemented that first to see if we could alleviate the issue, because all of these things are being monitored by the city of Henderson every week. And we were put on a compliance program where if we weren't meeting those target rates, our target date was October 31st. If we were not hitting the target by October 31st, we would then be subject to penalties and fines because they're worried about the corrosive benefits. So we actually hit the target on the week of the 31st. Our measures are better than what they expected for them to be. We're still calibrating the chemicals to make sure that if we can use less and stay within the parameters and stretch those chemicals out so it's not such a huge influx. The benefit is it's reduced the reliable pump and motor bill from almost 600 down to about 230 a month. And we were able to eliminate MESCO, which was 500 per month. So we were able to basically accommodate the cost of the Chem Aqua plan by implementing this and eliminating the others. Both of the pumps were replaced in the lift station within the past year. So with the new pumps and the chemicals that are going in there, it required a little bit of manpower and a little bit of juggling on my part because our time frame was so limited. But we were able to get everything set up. We got power run. We got a whole job in there. We got the whole thing done. So it is up and running. The report that came in yesterday is perfect. So City of Henderson is happy, which makes me happy. We have a lot of CenturyLink and Cox activity going on right now, as we all know. Cox is doing their fiber install. So they're running fiber through South Shore. Over the past 48 hours, we are pretty sure that they cut a line. So our Cox users had an interruption in service, and we even have some people in South Shore that are experiencing an outage with CenturyLink as well. Fire protection is our least favorite topic, but I'm going to touch on it just really quick so that it's highlighted in this process. So you have some people in your building who are unhappy about holes in the ceilings and all of those things. She has them right outside of her front door.
It's fixed. I'm not.
The fire protection system, we have a new pump coming in at the end of the year, which is going to alleviate some of the stress of that. But anticipating that the holes in the system that cause those systems to trip and cause those events to happen is more a result of age and design than it is anything that we can prevent. So in this last one where we all took turns adding air to the system to keep the system from tripping, one of the things that I started doing some inquiry about was whether or not, instead of fixing all of the stucco, I had them cut 24 by 24 inch holes. And I had them do that with the intent that we could put a panel in there. So that as opposed to cutting the holes open, fixing it, closing the holes, and then potentially reopening them again, this will give us access, because the way that the system is designed, if there's a leak, I sprayed the entire system in Building 20's parking garage with soapy water in the middle of the night. I don't have anything better to do on fire watch anyway. But there's only one pipe that goes up. There's the pipe that comes in from the compressor into the parking garage, and then it goes all the way around the parking garage. And then from that, there's only one pipe that goes up. So if the leak was not in the parking garage, it meant it was behind stucco up above. We found it on the 4th floor directly outside of her unit. So we had to cut all the way up on every floor following that pipe to try to find the leak. It was behind 2 double walls of drywall. So it wouldn't have been something we bought vanilla to put in the system to see if we could smell it out. I mean, I was walking, putting my ear on columns to see if I could hear air inside. And knowing that the system has no way to isolate that beyond above the garage versus below, if we have a panel on each floor, the intent is to be able to put a ball valve in there and isolate first floor, second floor, third floor, so that if that happened again in the future, we could then at least isolate which floor it's on without cutting anything. So
As far as you're talking about putting like
a trap door.
tractor. But why don't we do it with like a metal grate?
So your building has metal grate. So one of the things that doesn't make sense to me, and it didn't, all of the idiosyncrasies that happen from one building to the next, I have no idea how what you have in your building, why that wasn't carried to 20 and 30. Because what you have along every walkway is a screen, which is how we found the air leak in your building. Because a homeowner heard the air through the screen. There was no water, there was no drip, there was no event, but she heard the air. And when we still have to open it up to look for it to make the repair, but at least we know where it is.
Yeah.
One of the things that Focus is identifying right now is which is more cost effective. Would it be more cost effective for us to cut a strip, even if it's every other section of hallway, and put a metal grate in there versus putting the panels in to isolate? We're gonna kind of evaluate that, but we don't want to close up that stucco, especially because there has
not making just a little strip like we have, but making it bigger so they can actually open it up and look inside.
Well, they're gonna put a trap door, so it would be metal, but what you're saying is make it, instead of a door, make it a screen.
Right.
The problem comes in fabrication, whether or not they sell that or we would have to fabricate it. That's the only challenge I can see in that.
And
I mean,
the water right.
yeah.
And not wood and right.
Yep. So we're looking at all of the different options in that as well. Insurance renewed, we've got that all taken care of. I do want to celebrate the fact that we did an insurance renewal, by the way, with the same carrier. Hasn't happened in years. So,
That's good.
the claim that was open for building 15 was closed without payout, so it doesn't report on our history as a payoff. So, claim free, renewal with the current provider, very, very happy as far as carrying that over. So for the manager's report, that kind of touches on all of the basics. We have a very big meeting happening at that next meeting in December. So based on having all of those things, we want to make sure that you guys have the information and tools needed to make those decisions for the budget that's coming up. And while I understand, I had a conversation with Chuck today. I spoke with the owner of the Reserve Study Company, and I told him, here's the deal. At this point, I understand there's life circumstances that have prevented this from happening in the way that we all had hoped it would. I get it, but at the end of the day, I don't want to approve a budget without having that study to support anything that we do. So I need that study. So I told him I need it 3 days in advance of the meeting. If I don't have a final copy that is satisfactory, we're going to have to evaluate what terms we have in the contract to pursue, because at this point, it's not meeting our fiduciary duty to do a budget without having a good study. So he has committed himself that he will make sure that everything is done in his power to get us a satisfactory final, because the one that they gave me a couple of weeks ago was a final. It just didn't have the guy who originally prepared it. There was a personal issue that took him out of it, and that was a delay. They brought a brand new guy in, and he thought he was making things better, and so he went and changed a bunch of things, but he didn't realize all of the additions that had been made. So that came back and that wasn't going to work. Like, we went with this company because the format works. We want the format. We want the information that we had before, but we want it to include everything. The last reserve study really missed a lot of very major components that don't give us an accurate picture of the condition of the reserves without that information. So we want it done right. And he has expressed that if he does not have a satisfactory final to us before the next board meeting, that he will happily give us the final that he has given us at no charge. He is willing to waive his fee if we're unhappy. He doesn't want that to happen. We have a long-standing relationship using his company. He understands that we can't bend everything because he's had some issues in his company. So it was a good conversation. I feel confident that we're going to have a good final. And so I will go ahead and turn it over to resident open forum unless you guys have any questions on the manager's report.
No. Thank
Okay.
you. All right. Some bad news. Okay, we'll take
All
care of
right,
it.
so we now have 2 homeowners present. Richard Geiger joined us since we started, and I will go ahead and give you the opportunity, Richard. I see you just unmuted. Thank you.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you. Quick question on the fire suppression.
Yes.
So, is that ceiling space in the common area? Is that a fire-rated space unto itself? Is it a plenum area? And where I'm going with this is, if we open that ceiling up to grates that are not fire-rated, are we running into a problem with fire code?
So we won't get into a problem with fire code. What we're essentially looking at is a valve box, the same way that we have if you were to walk down your hallway and your unit, you'll notice that there are some panels already in place at different valve junctions. So we would be looking at the same type of panel box. We're just talking about doing one in the ceiling at each of those junctures, so that in the case that moving forward we had a leak where we were unable to identify the location, we would be able to open up that panel and access that floor's pipes to be able to ascertain and potentially in the future isolate where it's coming from.
Okay, so do we know if that ceiling space is in effect a separate fire-rated space? Is it something we need to maintain the integrity of moving forward?
So that is why the fire protection company is the one that is identifying the best course of action. So as described, building 15 has screens all the way throughout every walkway that are basically just an air gap all the way through, giving access to be able to identify those air leaks in the pipes. Whereas this would just be a panel, since those were not originally installed for the other 2 buildings. But
Okay.
the fire protection company works very closely with the city of Henderson to ensure that any of those changes that are implemented, there are additional intricacies that go with that, which is why we're evaluating those options beforehand.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any other questions, Richard?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, perfect. Alexander?
Yes. Since we're on the record now, I will repeat what I said earlier, except I'll adjust it a little bit. So like I said, towards the end of last year, the management has been involved with embezzlement and fraud using communities' funds. And after speaking first, you're trying to trick me, but actually you confirmed one thing, is that you are doing this on purpose. You are hiding things on purpose. You're embezzling money, and the community suffering for it. When I talked to Mr. Wright in October of last year, he said he's aware of all the issues. I told him he's gonna fix them. It's been a little over a year. He has done absolutely nothing about it. Except we had a mice infestation, which I complained about. Nothing was done. Cockroach infestation, nothing was done. Our building, the sides, is falling apart for 2 years now. Nothing has been done. The bank, just like this meeting, good example. You asked me if I had questions about the minutes. How could I have questions about something I cannot see? And then you just go along with it. I have questions about the finances, but you don't show me the finances. And Mr. Wright just goes ahead and approves it. How can you approve something without seeing it? And that's what's been happening here in this community for a long time. Just like the bank balances I stated, these are not fluffed up numbers, and it's not hard to see how it's done. There's $86,000 left in your bank accounts this year, compared to $400,000 2 years ago. Where did that money go? When I tried to get some invoices and receipts, September last year, Michelle did send me those receipts. They were from different years. They had Mr. Wright's personal expenses. They had management personal expenses with no approval, with no explanation. Then apparently the management decides that they earn a specific hourly rate. $50 an hour was it? The management, August this year, 2023, look at the administrative benefits. Usually it's $4,500 a month. Suddenly in August it's $9,100. And that happens all over the finances. And there's no receipts, there's no paperwork, there's nothing to prove any expenses. So, Mr. Wright, I do have a question for you. Since I talked to you in October, and please don't deny it, I have you on video. What have you done about the issues that I have told you about? What have you done?
October what year?
Last year. I have you on video when you came during fire inspection, which was improperly scheduled by your manager. Which this year this happened again. In fact, this year she skipped my fire inspection, so my building has not been fire inspected.
Okay, I think your 3 minutes are up, and I appreciate your comments, and we'll check it out in the next board meeting, and we'll try to see what we can do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for entertaining
So
us.
we'll go ahead and move from that. Those are the only two homeowners present, so we will go ahead and move to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming today.
Thank you for
Mr.
participating.
Bovtovich, if you would like to request a copy of the minutes or the treasurer's report, you're welcome to do that at any time as you have in the past.
Okay, and just a question for you, Michelle. What about we had a discussion about how we received the notifications from the association. So I'm still not clear why we're not receiving in the mail. Because you showed me we had no email communication, which is fine. So we should be receiving it in the mail.
You have a new bulletin board down there by your.
That does not. If you read the laws of the HOAs, that does not count
So
as a proper
Alexander,
notification.
The board is not required to respond. You're welcome to make a statement.
Yeah,
If you have
that's what
questions,
but
you
I'm
need
just
to send them.
I'm just asking you, Michelle, because I wasn't clear if anything is being addressed to do So is this the final answer, the board? What if I'm out of the city for a week? How would I know your notifications?
So any notices, any communications that are not a legal obligation to be mailed
Yeah,
are
but the meeting
communicated
was.
via email, which is encouraged, or posted in the common areas of the community, which is by the mailboxes.
Yes, I understand normal community announcements. That's fine, I understand. What about the meeting, the voting? I never received any voting materials. I never received any ballots. Maybe I wanted to run, but I never received anything in the mail. Those are required by law.
Notices are communicated in the same way.
No, they're supposed to be mailed.
If you have elected not to receive email communications, then I would encourage you to check the common area mailboxes for notices.
Michelle, I have sent you a copy of the law that says if a person is not receiving emails.
Once you're beyond your 3-minute time frame.
Okay, that's your point. I just wanted to talk to you. I don't see a line of people.
Meeting's adjourned.
Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you very much.